why you haven't had children yet, press 1.
Talk to a parent.
To explain why you won't... Hello, this is Dad speaking.
Hi, Dad. I was just calling to say...
Sorry. Could I get you to confirm your 16-digit account number?
Yeah, it's 00000.
I think it's Zoe.
Oh, God.
0000002.
Okay, please hold.
Your call is very important to us. Mom or Dad will be with you shortly.
Okay.
Hey,
Can I get your date of birth, please?
June 8th.
1987.
Okay, and your mother's maiden name?
It's Lee.
Yeah, it's Zoe.
Oh,
Hey, sweetheart, how you doing?
Dad, I'm okay. I'm just overwhelmed.
I'm doing my taxes.
And I can't...
Oh, taxes. Sorry, honey. That's a question for Mom. Let me go ahead and transfer you.
Oh, no, wait, Dad, it wasn't a question.
Hello?
Hi, Mom.
Hi, honey. Can I just confirm your 16-digit account number, your date of birth, and my maiden name?
But I...
Just gave that information to Dad.
Mom?
Please hold, dear.
Oh, no, wait, Mom. Come back. Mom? 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 Mom?
So we can all laugh at that, but our companies put our customers through that similar experience every single day. And today I hope that at the end of my session, you go back to your organisations and start talking to them about making the contact centre an integral part to the customer experience journey. Imagine the schoolyard conversation from your daughters and sons if that's how you treated them at home. Your customers are having those conversations with their colleagues and friends every single time we ask them for the same information that they gave the last agent, the information they put into your IVR systems, the information they put on your digital channels. And I've had the pleasure of working with a number of organisations in the contact centre space over the years, and essentially what it means is today I'm drawing on experiences from people wanting to talk to me about their cell services, their financial matters, the $5 t-shirt that they bought from a discount department store, or a motor vehicle they've bought from one of the world's largest automotive companies. And the one thing that is common across all of those customers is that they remember how you made them feel. What they're buying doesn't matter. How you make them feel is the difference between whether they stay with your brand or go to a competitor. And your contact centre, I believe, is an integral part to delivering on that. So the first contact centre started in 1965 when the Birmingham Press and Mail Company started a call centre. And there's a difference between a call centre and a contact centre. Back in 1965, it was revolutionary to think that you'd have a group of people answering calls from customers. Surely they would send a letter. Fast forward to 2016, customers demand to contact us on multiple channels, and the call centre has migrated from this place people call to this place that customers contact through multiple channels. And that integration across the channels is key to your customer's lifecycle journey. But of course, before we got to contact centres, we all decided to build big, robust call centres here in Australia. And then that got expensive, so we sent a lot of them offshore to reduce costs. And the argument was always that we'd improve customer service. There's some stats that I'll share with you that would dispel that myth. And today, we, of course, every single one of us have a contact centre of some size.
So if you can please just proceed to the next question. If you have to fill out your form, that's fine. Please proceed to the next question, and we'll attempt to answer that if possible.
Right. So, being that we are the number one provider of internet and TV service in the entire country, okay, why is it that you're not wanting to have the number one rated internet service, number one rated TV service available?
I'm declining to state we're switching providers. Can you please go to the next question?
Okay. So what is it about us towns that's making you want to change to them?
I'm declining to state. Can you please go to the next question so we can cancel our service?
Okay, so, okay, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out here what it is about Comcast service that you're not liking, that you're not wanting to keep. I mean, why is it that you don't want to keep that service?
This phone call is a really actually amazing representative example of why I don't want to stay with Comcast. So can you please cancel our service?
So from okay, but I'm trying to help you.
Okay,
you are not
the way that you can help me right now,
by declining answers, by doing all this.
the way that you can help me is by disconnecting our service. That's how you can help
How
me.
is that helping you though?
Because that's what I want.
So that is a real call. It's only 2 minutes of a call that went for more than 30 minutes. Now, what this Comcast agent didn't realise was that he was speaking to an editor of a major online publishing house. Putting that aside, that call should highlight to you the impact your call centres or contact centres are having on your customers' experience. That call has had 240,000 views on YouTube. If you search Google, there's over 20,000 direct links to conversations around that call. Over 6 million times a 10-minute recording of the call has been listened to. These numbers have to reinforce in your mind that your call centre has an impact on customer experience and loyalty. Imagine if those were the numbers because Comcast got it right. Free marketing. They say all news is good news. I'm not sure Comcast is agreeing. 95% of customers will use more than one channel in 2016 to contact you. 59% of customers will change companies because of a poor customer service. And 65% of your customers will share their negative experiences. And all it takes is for one person being a little bit tech savvy on the end of an email, end of a call, end of a social media interaction to record it and share it in live time. Imagine with technologies like Periscope now, if the Comcast call was live streamed. It would have taken down the internet. Completely changed the way organisations serve. And last year, when I had the privilege of speaking at this event, I spoke about United Airlines and how they're famous for promising great customer experience. And as we heard on Monday night, still challenged by that consistent delivery across all their channels. And a contact centre is across all channels these days. Now, I mentioned Periscope. There's also things like WeChat. In China, WeChat is more popular than email for customer service. And there's companies here in Australia today that are using services like WeChat to connect with community members that they service. And the reason contact centres need to be able to service across all of these channels is for two reasons. Firstly, customers demand it. And secondly, we need to deliver a consistent customer experience. Imagine trying to manage 6 or 7 different centres. You have your call centre, you have your email centre, you have your social media centre, you have your web chat team. And if all those teams were disparate in your organisation and didn't have a common set of processes, a common set of the way that they do their business, imagine how disconnected your customer's journey will be. So contact centres evolved to try and solve those problems, and I still think we've got a long way to go. The Comcast agents also service customers on emails. I would have loved to have seen that call play out over email. I think the poor gentleman may have still been trying to get his Comcast service disconnected. I'm going to cover off a couple of things really quickly though, because these are the questions that I usually get at the end. What's better with a contact centre from a customer's point of view? Is it in-house or outsourced? It doesn't matter. It matters how you make them feel. You can service customers brilliantly here in Australia, as well as you can serve them in any other part of the world, if you've got the right processes, systems, and enablement of your team members. But if you have a contact centre, regardless of where it's sitting, and you treat them like that part of the organisation that doesn't matter, that they just get all the calls and they get the emails and they just take care of that problem, and you don't tell them anything, you don't invest in them, you'll get exactly the same outcome that you'll get with any other organisation you do that with, regardless of how you're delivering it. So insourced or outsourced doesn't matter. What matters is how they make your customers feel. Average handling time. Anyone here manage a contact centre or have contact centre responsibilities? A few people. I think average handling time has been seen as one of those measures that you just have to hang your hat on. If I'm answering 80% of my calls in 30 seconds or 90% of my calls in 30 seconds, I'm doing a great job. Have you asked your customer? Because research shows that 90% of customers would prefer to wait longer to get answered to get served correctly the first time than 80% of the time getting answered really quickly, but having to send in an email, call back later, hop on Facebook. And customer satisfaction versus satisfaction with the agent. I'll talk a little bit about measurement tools in a moment, but for me, asking the customer if they're satisfied with the service the agent provided is much more powerful than just asking whether they were satisfied overall. Because the agent can't control what your organisation is doing to him or her. The agent has to operate within a set of boundaries. So the customer could be completely dissatisfied because the agent didn't give away a car, yet the agent may have done everything else possible to make that customer satisfied. And so if you ask the customer, did the agent serve you well, then you're able to train, educate, reward and recognise your team members that are doing great work, and obviously coach those that aren't. But the customer will remember how the agent made them feel much longer than getting the no or not quite what they asked for. And 74% of companies expect contact centre volumes to increase. Yet investment in contact centres has declined year on year for the last 4 years. Customer satisfaction through contact centres has declined year on year for the last 4 years. So there's a disconnect between what executives in companies are saying and what we're actually doing. And I believe that it's really simple. Customers measure us across 3 separate areas. They want to be successful. When they contact you, regardless of how they contact you, they want to be successful. Were they able to achieve what they set out to achieve? And that's why customers are using different social media channels, different contact channels. Because some interactions they see should be really quick and simple, which plays to the second thing customers measure us against: effort. Is it easy doing business with you, your contact centres, or do you make it difficult? I'm not going to name names out of respect to each and every one of you, but there are companies in this room that when you ring their contact centre, you get asked, can you please enter your 16-digit account code or your personal identification number or some form of ID, to only then be asked by the agent that answers the phone call, can you please give me your 16-digit identification number? And the minute you say, I already put that into the system, they go, oh yeah, we don't get that information. Only some of our call centres get that information. Or, yeah, I don't know why we asked that. If you're going to ask a customer a question through an IVR to make it easier for them to be served when they get to an agent, make sure you actually use that information, because otherwise you're just annoying the customer. And emotion. So if you deliver on success and effort, the customer's likely to be satisfied. But if you make an emotional connection with that customer, you'll build a lifetime advocate. And it doesn't come through one interaction, of course, it comes through many interactions. But today, the number one takeaway I'd like to share with you, regardless of your role, is help your contact centre to deliver on promises. How many marketing professionals have done a fantastic campaign and forgot to tell the contact centre that we're launching? 20% off if you ring up now. Contact centre answers, no, there's no discounts, you must be mistaken, it must be our competitor. Send in an email response, no, you must be wrong. Next minute, the local office of fair trading is calling you asking for why you're advertising falsely. And the really sad thing is if you just kept your contact centres informed on what you are promising, customer satisfaction would increase because it's not the norm. Today, contact centres usually find out in many organisations about what the company's doing after the customers started calling. So if you want to improve customer satisfaction and customer experience, start with your contact centre. Your marketing teams and your product teams, start briefing the contact centre first, not last or after there's been the first 10,000 calls or 10,000 emails.
What is Zappos? Allow us to introduce ourselves. We're your one-stop shop for shoes, clothing, handbags, and a whole lot more. Simply put, Zappos is you, and we're here for you 24/7. Whether you need the latest and greatest in footwear or a new piece of luggage, we'll always ship it fast and free. Add to that free returns and a 1-year return policy, and you'll be set for a worry-free shopping adventure. So let us help deliver happiness to your front door. Shop on Zappos.com today.
So my colleagues from the US will be familiar, I'm sure, with Zappos. Zappos is an internet sensation in terms of e-retailing. They went from $0 to over $1 billion in revenue in under 10 years, and then they got acquired by Amazon. And the one thing that they built their company on was customer experience. But you can't go into a Zappos store. You only can deal with Zappos online or via the phone channel or social media, etc. And in that ad, they talked about we're here 24/7, that we make it easy for you to get what you want. And if you got what you want, but it wasn't quite what you wanted, you've got a whole year to return it. So they make a number of promises to customers. So last night, after a fabulous dinner, I went back to my room and I thought, why not do a live test of Zappos? So I sent them a tweet. Hey Zappos, any great tips for my next time I'm in Vegas? So Zappos is headquartered in downtown Vegas, and they replied, come on a tour with us. So they invite you into their organisation, and by the way, why not visit one of the local museums there in Zappos. Now, Zappos makes $0 from that interaction, but they've got this mantra in their company that they're there 24/7 for their customers. They're also famous for having a call that lasted 10 hours. Average handling time, they've never heard of it. And at the end of that 10-hour call, they didn't sell one product. Do they care? No, because everybody talks about Zappos delivering on their promises. When a team member in the Zappos contact centre gets a call and the customer wants a shoe in a size 8 or a dress in a size 6 and they don't stock it anymore, they're empowered to ring a competitor, find the product and ship it to the customer free of charge. Now that may not work for your organisation, but it highlights the power that a contact centre can have if you empower them to deliver a great customer experience regardless of the obstacles.
Take away the shiny panels and the chrome badge. Take away the dual climate control and the hand-stitched leather seats. Take away the sports bar and the alloy wheels, the preconceptions and misconceptions. Because out here, tough is not an optional extra. Tough comes from within.
So that was a new campaign called the Naked Ute for the amazing Amarok. And the Australian community was abuzz with wanting to know, what's the Naked Ute? And then we did the reveal, which you saw there in the TVC. When a customer contacts our Volkswagen Commercial Contact Centre, that team needs to know all about the Naked Ute campaign. In the various commercials that run around the campaign, we talk about tough from the inside out. So our contact centre, and in your contact centres, they need to be able to respond to customers. If the customer says, how is your product tough from the inside out? How is your product the best health insurance in the market? How are you here for me 24/7 when I rang and you didn't answer my call? If your product teams and marketing teams start briefing out your contact centres to start with, you will get more questions from them and your products will be better. Because your contact centre team members speak to your customers more than any of us do. Integral to the customer's experience. So I've talked a bit about success, effort and emotion, and I want to share some of my thoughts around each of those areas and how contact centres can improve their customers' experience today, your advocacy and your lifetime ownership of those customers. Get it right first time. Some people in the industry call this first contact resolution. It doesn't really matter what you call it. What's important is how you measure it. So there is a number of great software tools out there that can give you a report on first contact resolution or getting it right first time. But they measure the time from the time the interaction was open to when it was closed, and if there was no further follow-up, that was a resolution. How about asking your customer? Your customer can tell you whether it was resolved first time, right time. Deliver on your promises, and we've spoken a little bit about that, and learn from the data. Almost every company that I speak to spends loads of money doing consumer research, market insights, have big teams looking at it. And then you ask the question, so have you looked at what the contact centre's telling you? Oh yeah, they get 40,000 calls a week. They get 10,000 emails. Great. What's inside of that? There are tools today, and some of the vendors here have spoken about them, where you can analyse voice conversations. You need to start listening to what your customers are telling you. They're telling you freely. You don't have to put on an incentive to get them in to do some research. They're giving you all the information. Start mining that data and learning from it, because it will empower your organisation and empower your contact centre to improve experiences. Be effortless to deal with from a contact centre point of view. So if a customer wants to contact you on Twitter, let them. It is so easy to integrate all the social media channels these days. Just because only 5% of your customers want to use it is not an excuse. Because what if those 5% of your customers buy 80% of your products? And there are examples of organisations making decisions based on contact volumes versus value. Time to first human response. Everyone, send an email to your contact centre as a customer and you'll get a response saying, thank you, we've received your email, we'll contact you within a period of time. That does not count as a customer response. When someone actually eyeballs the customer's requests, analyses it and responds with the right information the right time. And it doesn't matter whether it's an email or a call. So I mentioned that I don't prescribe to measuring average handling time. I also don't prescribe to 80% of calls being answered in 30 seconds. Watch your customer experience index. Your customer satisfaction scores go through the roof when you deliver an efficient and easy way for your customers to contact you and you give them the right information the first time that they contact you. Communicate, train and engage. It seems simple, yet when was the last time your product team went and spent time training your team in depth on products and answering their questions? Make sure you speak to them first before you go and brief anyone else. Emotion. Have a flower budget. Not for you, the boss, but for your agents, for your team members. And I'm genuinely serious here. It doesn't need to be flowers. It doesn't need to be discounts on your products. It could be a corporate merchandise. It could be vouchers to dine at a restaurant. It could simply be greeting cards. At Zappos, they do this wonderfully. Hi, I was unable to return my product. I know it's been 1 year and 2 months, but I had a death in the family. No problems, return the product. We'll give you a full refund. In fact, I'll give you a refund right now. If you read their policy, it says they get a refund in a year. That very same agent sent flowers to that customer to say that Zappos cared about the customer and was sorry for their loss. Now, that's not going to work for every brand, of course. But if your agent has something at their disposal that says, I recognise you as a person and I care for you, it will drive that emotional connection and loyalty. And we've had a number of presentations over the last day and a half around personalisation. So I say, don't just have a flower budget. Have a goodwill budget. Have a budget that empowers your team members to be human. Measure advocacy. So customer satisfaction is just as good as the last interaction. Whether your customers are going to recommend you, I think, is the key. And you won't get that recommendation unless you make that emotional connection. And Be human and consistent with your brand. So Ben & Jerry's, the ice cream company, they can do some fairly out there interactions with their customers because they've got a social voice. They're very much about advocating for causes. Red Bull is adventurous, so the way they serve their customers is different. If you're a life insurance company, don't be sending a customer an experience to jump out of a hot air balloon because it doesn't quite go with your product. But make sure your brand consistent because all of that plays into the customer's experience. So I hope that I've planted the thought in your mind that your customer experience contact centres actually make a difference to your customer's journey. But who is your customer, your first customer? Your first customer in the contact centre is your team member. If you don't look after your team members, if you don't recognise and reward them, you will never get through that glass ceiling and deliver an amazing, sustainable customer experience through your contact centres. And I'll leave you with this. Every single customer surveyed in a recent survey out of the US stated that they are expecting contact centres to provide them with assistance on their chosen channel. So if you don't think you need Twitter or Periscope or WeChat, have a look at who your customers are and ask them what they want. Because you might find that you'll deliver a better experience and therefore build lifetime advocates.